funny. All right, it's 8:30. Today is Wednesday, February 3rd. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It does not look to me like we have anyone from the public that's on this meeting, but if they are, please speak up. And if not, we'll get you after. I don't see so. The first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of our meeting a few weeks ago, which was January 13th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next item is a legal bill for Pennoni, Lopes, Devereaux, and O'Gara. This covers January 2021. The dollar amount is $24,985.77. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the bill, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item relates to bridge inspections, both routine bridge inspections as well as underwater inspections. We're going to have Mr. Seabury give us a rundown, but let's put a motion before the board first. The motion is to grant the contract to Attain. The dollar figure would be $650,559.96 for the routine inspection, as well as $390,580.15 for the underwater portion of the inspection. Let's have a motion and then we'll have a discussion and questions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Mr. Seabury, if you can just do a rundown on what this work is, please.
Sure. So Federal Highway requires routine bridge inspections on all of our bridges every 2 years. And Jamestown Bridge is due in late May this year for the routine inspection. So that piece is the larger of the task orders. Coincidentally, the underwater inspection is due in August of this year. That is due every 5 years by Federal Highway standards, and then we have to report in those inspection results. It's a sizable, both of them are very sizable, detailed inspections. Obviously, you can tell by the magnitude of the task orders. The reports we receive are very sizable as well. It just so happens that they both fall the same year. So we have a proposal here to use Attain for the inspections, and we received their proposals and reviewed them, and we benchmarked them against previous work for inspections both here and at RIDOT, and found that they were within reason on what's been performed in the past, and actually less in some cases. The inspectors that we've used in the past, usually we will give them about a couple of cycles on each bridge. That gets them familiar with the bridge. We get a good inspection product, and what you'll see is oftentimes they will go maybe 2 or 3 cycles, and then they'll switch up. And DOT follows the same type of guideline where they'll give a certain consultant the inspections on certain bridges, and then they switch them up again. You get a fresh set of eyes on them. You get a new report. So this is Attain's second round on Jamestown, first round on underwater inspection.
Any questions for Mr. Seabury?
You go, boy. Whoops.
If we can, there's a 602 number. We might want to mute that one, I'd say. Remy, if you're able to do that. There are no questions. All in favor of the contract to Attain, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. The next item relates to a load rating, and these are some of the bridges that we spoke about at our last meeting. Director Morse raised. There are, I believe, a total of 6 that are in the area that run between the Newport and Jamestown Bridge. This contract would go to Michael Baker International for a dollar amount of $183,878.10. If we could please have a motion, and then we'll get some discussion and any questions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Mr. Seabury, can you give us a rundown, please?
Yes. So Federal Highway, again, they require periodic load ratings on our bridges, on all bridges actually, at about a maximum of 8 years. or when there's been a significant structural change, and that could be either positive or negative due to rehab on a bridge or deterioration on a bridge. In this case, these bridges are hitting the 8-year mark. We don't anticipate that, there would be a lowering or major lowering of the load rating where we'd be concerned. However, they are due just based on calendar. Michael Baker International did the last inspection recently on these 6 bridges. So we looked to them to give us a proposal, which came in reasonable. Again, we benchmarked it against previous inspections and also asked RIDOT about their performance and costs on similar bridges. We figured that they would be the most efficient consultant to use to do the load rating, since they have the most intimate knowledge of the bridges just coming off the most recent inspections. So, their proposal of 183,000 would cover all 6 bridges, and we'll get the load rating report and report that into Federal Highway.
Any questions of Mr. Seabury?
I have a question.
Director Alviti?
How often do we have these bridges inspected?
These are well, they would be 8 years maximum, unless there's a significant structural change due to major deterioration found during an inspection, or improvements during a rehab project that we would expect would increase the load rating.
But the inspections that you just mentioned, how often do they happen?
The inspections are every 2 years.
Every 2?
Yeah.
Okay, and the load rating is every 8?
Every 8, right,
Okay.
or sooner.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? The motion carries. We're going to have a report on overall the status of projects from Mr. Seabury. You're earning your money this morning.
All right. I'll go through these fairly quickly, unless there are any questions. So we've got, I summarized in the board packet the major ongoing projects. And I'll go through the names of them, but basically right now we've got a total of just over 42 million in active contracts. Next board update, I will actually be including the soft costs, which would be all of the design contracts, support contracts. There's a little more research to do to pull all of those costs up, but I'll include those the next time. The first contract is the bridge electrical and communication upgrades for Pell and Mount Hope. This is the fiber optic project that we've talked about in the past with Audette, and the contract amount on this one is 2.7 million right now. We actually project being under budget by 175,000 by the end of this contract, and we're nearing the completion. We're about 95% complete right now, and we anticipate being completed in February of this year. So this month right now, later this month, we should be complete on this. Partial depth deck replacement, which is the large $20 million project. It's just under 20 million actually. Contract is 19.3 million. We are 90% complete on this. As you know, we finished this project, the major work just before Thanksgiving, and pulled off the bridge. We have left only the contract, only the deck grinding and sealant left. We anticipate being completed May 15th of 2021, which is actually on time. Miscellaneous and on-call repairs to Pell and Jamestown. This was cracks and spalls in the piers and spalls in the pre-stressed beams, and repairs to the cathodic protection system underwater to the pier, to the substructure. And there's some miscellaneous crack repairs to the pier columns. Contract amount on this was 10.4 million, and we're projecting to be under budget by 229,000 on this project. 80% complete. We'll be picking this back up as soon as we've got some issues with the underwater crew. They had some COVID exposure, so as soon as they are clear from that, they'll be picking that work back up again. They've been ongoing through the winter, weather permitting. Miscellaneous and on-call repairs to Mount Hope and Secana. This contract was a lot of the deck work that you saw on Mount Hope over the summer, and some safety walk repairs And this also included the repairs to the Hummocks Bridge, which we spoke about last board meeting. That was added into this contract. 2.0 million, and we're projected to be on budget with one board-approved change order that was added of 40,000. We are now 100% complete. We just finished this workup, and we're working on the closeout of this. So it was actually on schedule. It was 1 year ahead of schedule, actually. They were originally projected to be next December. Mount Hope and Secana miscellaneous steel repairs. This is ongoing. This is a lot of the steel repairs and paint work that's ongoing on Mount Hope. It also includes some safety walk repairs, and there was a component of this project that incorporated fiber reinforced polymer products. And those catwalks, we have some photos of those that were installed on Mount Hope. The fiber reinforced polymer catwalks are pretty impressive. We have some more FRP materials being installed for access to the Secana River Bridge tub girders, and also to access the Mount Hope Bridge from the north side shore. There'll be fiber reinforced polymer stairs installed so that we don't have to wait for the tide at Secana, and on Mount Hope it'll be fiber reinforced polymer stairs as well, so we don't have the corrosion issues. This was 1.1 million. We're about 40% complete, and Piasecki Steel will be back out in the spring, weather permit, when weather is conducive to paintwork. We're projected to be about a year ahead of schedule on this one.
I've got a question about that one.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the extension of useful life is going to be because of going to FRP?
Well, the FRP certainly will require much less maintenance. I will say, when I started here and dug into the cost on this project, I was a bit surprised at the added cost for the FRP. It certainly comes at a very large premium.
Yeah. How much in this project? Do you know how much it would have been?
Well, this was the FRP components are just over $1 million in this project,
right?
And so it was a large portion. There's no doubt the longevity will be there for these because of the saltwater environment and the need not to paint and clean away.
Right.
But I've yet to dig into what it would have cost for the steel. This was already in place, but I will say, it definitely was a surprisingly, it was
expensive.
It was a premium, and what was interesting was the components that we're using. I think the intent, is to try to incorporate some of the composite industry locally.
Yeah.
However, as I was looking into it, the composite industry locally does layup construction, which is similar to boats and flat type products. And what we're using out here are extruded. They're made out in the Midwest and brought in and down south. We don't have the extrusion process in Rhode Island.
Are any of our companies gearing up to do this kind of thing? Do you know?
That's a good question. I'm not sure yet on that, but that would be, so the extrusion process, if some of the local companies were gearing up for that, that would be more applicable to what we would do here. I will say we're looking into some FRP new hatches, which are access hatches to the anchorages on the Pell Bridge. Right now we have cast iron structures that are very heavy to lift, one thing, and there's inherent issues with them just by their age. So something like that probably would be able to be manufactured by the locals using the layup construction. So we're going to look into that for the Pell Bridge.
Yep. Good. Thank you.
I think with some targeted, isolated applications, it would be appropriate on some of the bridges.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Seabury? We have the executive director's report. You need to unmute yourself, Lori.
So we have the financial reports in the package. I wanted to point out that traffic remains steady. We're down still about 25%. I was just looking last night. We've still had days in January, which is encouraging to me, where we've been at 87% year over year, 82% in the 70s. On the snow days, you can bet we dip into the 60s. But overall, it's about a 25% dip in revenue since COVID hit us last March. As we always say every month, we came into COVID, we sort of hit the ground running. We were ahead of the game. That helped us a lot. We've done much better than other tolling agencies have done. Then also, I think we always want to tell you every month that we are ahead of budget. We've been keeping tabs every month. We budgeted conservatively on both toll revenue and tax, motor fuel tax revenue, and we have been able to stay within budget. We've also been able to stay within expenses, very much so. So doing okay in that regard. Traffic and revenue are looking good. Our bonds are rated A and stable outlook, all good news. And we'll, so we're looking forward to the next item on my report, which is the cashless tolling test period, which if you watched the news this morning, you probably saw mention that we're going to give it a whirl with cashless tolling eastbound, so headed into Newport for 4 weeks around the clock. This is really phase 2 of our test with cashless tolling, because we are already doing cashless tolling from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. 7 days a week. So and that has been by opening the 2 extreme outer lanes and having no 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. So now the next phase of this, to see what the impact is on our operations, we're going to try for 4 weeks. We're going to try to collect only by transponder and by bill by mail. So there will be no ability to pay with cash or with credit cards. As I say, it's a trial run. We've worked with the union. We will end it at the 4-week mark, and we will take some time to see how it worked out, take a hard look at all aspects of our operations to see what the impact was. So that's our plan. It's going to start February 14th. We're getting the message out starting last night. So and safety will be paramount. So we are working with a traffic consultant to make certain that we direct the traffic into the available lanes, which will be the open road tolling lane and the extreme outer lane going into Newport.
Lori, let me just ask you one question just to make sure we have it out there. Anyone who proceeds through that lane who does not have an easy pass, they will be charged $4, which is our normal rate anyway, correct?
That's correct.
So there's no additional cost or anything like that. It's a different process basically, but there's no additional cost during this trial period.
That's correct. And, we have throughout the pandemic, we've tried to make lemonade out of the COVID lemons. And this is another example, because this is a good time to give this a try. We have in our 10-year plan that we will ultimately be constructing a new gantry or plaza. It will be redesigning the existing plaza. So now and then it will be totally free flow traffic. So now is a good time to give this a test. We'll have to take some time done to see how it works out. And then we will probably have to test it on the westbound side too. So it's, as I say, we've worked with the union. There's at this point in time, there's no loss of jobs. There is no impact on schedules. So it's just, we need the cooperation of the public. And as I say, safety is everything. So that's our main goal, is to test cashless tolling as they've done throughout the country and do it safely.
I have a couple of questions.
Director.
The experience that you've gotten with the overnight cashless tolling, does it give you an indication on what kind of an impact going to cashless may have on your revenue, toll revenue?
It does. It does, Director. And I'm going to refer this to Kathy, because we've been looking at this carefully. And by the way, before I let Kathy answer, I want you to know there's been very little pushback. In fact, we automated those 2 outside lanes. We did it primarily for for the Jamestown residents who need to get in and out through the ramps that are close to our plaza currently. And we also did it for the RIPTA bus routes who need to go into and out of Jamestown and pick up people that need to get to and from work. So with that said, I'll let Kathy talk about the impact on cash, the impact on our revenue and collections.
Great question, Director. The overnight didn't affect our cash flow per se because that was such a small volume.
Sure.
So part of the reason on this 4-week trial period is to actually move it to a time frame where we actually still collect cash. That being said, it is a much smaller portion of our overall collection.
What portion is it? Yeah.
From a traffic standpoint, it's only about 12% of our traffic.
And the
Revenue is a little bit different, but from traffic standpoint, it's only 12%.
Okay, and the rest of it, the other 88% is what? Regular?
Electronic transponder-based transactions.
Gotcha.
So we have a great penetration rate. We always have when we converted from token-based. The margin thing is we collected a lot more cash when we first converted. That has been steadily declining over the last, as Director Wallach knows, that over the last probably 8 years. And as Director Silveris said, now is the most opportune time, unfortunately, due to COVID, where our traffic levels are a little bit reduced and we can do this evaluation. We're pretty lucky to be able to be doing a live test environment to see the effects of going AET. And
So
safety is our big issue. We want to make sure we do it in a safe environment.
So how many manual collection lanes are going to remain operational during this?
So the remaining operational on the westbound side, we will move people over to the westbound side. But if for some reason we're not foreseeing it, we're not expecting it, we will have the personnel necessary. And Eric Seabury has worked from the safety side. If for some reason we had to revert back to manual collections, we will be able to do it very quickly.
What do you think the conditions that would precipitate needing to go back?
The only one that possible accidents, you just don't know where they're going to take place. We know that can shut down our facility even now with the manual lanes open, when we have an accident occurring, depending on where it is.
It's a higher probability on those too, isn't it?
Probably, it's separate. I don't want to speak to engineering. I don't foresee it being a problem because we will have 2 different areas. We'll have ORT and we'll have the gated area, so we will be able to address it. We're just cautious, especially me, that before we move to completely free flow, we have an opportunity to test both the geometry, the impact to our back office, as you know, since we do yours, and we want to just make sure that we can handle everything.
Okay.
There will be, one thing I'd like to add to that is that to some of Director Alvidi's points, there will be signage. There'll be plenty of notice and there'll be signage. The key is to make certain that motorists do not stop. And I see them stop even now.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'm sure we've all come over this bridge. The other night, I was getting on the bridge and saw someone looking up at the signs and just stop, trying to make a decision. So we don't want them to stop. We want them to keep moving. And so we're designing the signage and we're going to funnel them through the open lanes so that we minimize the possibility of accidents.
Yeah, it's kind of more of an art to that than there is a science in appealing to people's senses, right? I think eventually, if we move entirely toward all electronic, then a minimal amount of signs is probably keeping traffic moving better than any than any signs at
Fractions.
all, because you don't want them even knowing they're going under it.
Mhm.
So, good. Yeah, I would imagine, are you gonna also at the same time study not only the revenue, but the traffic impact?
Absolutely.
Because it should have a rather positive traffic impact, shouldn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
We'll be studying how it affects all aspects of our back operations, our front operations, everything.
Great.
Thank you. And the last thing I wanted to mention is kind of a cool item to discuss, which is that the Rhode Island School of Design has a program going on right now that involves, it's a program that started in their winter session. It's continuing, it's a postgraduate course. It's continuing in the spring session. And it is for the design of a virtual exhibition that will involve some opportunities and different scenarios for crossing the Pell Bridge, either on foot or on bike. And they're working on this now. We've done what we can to help them out with their designs. They expect to come out with a number of different designs. And then once they have the designs done, and by the way, they will be using composite materials. This is also, by the way, through the Van Buren Charitable Foundation. That's the entity that's sponsoring this at RISD. And when they finish when they narrow it down to a number of good options for how to give people the opportunity to walk over or bicycle over our beautiful Pell Bridge, then they will go into production of an exhibition. That will happen in the summer and the fall. Again, the exhibition will be involving composite materials. It will involve stationary bikes and virtual reality glasses. And they expect to roll out the exhibition in January of next year. So we have something great to look forward to.
Can we virtually give them a bill as well for passage virtually over the bridge?
Following up on the chair's comment, this could be an event that raises expectation with regard to actually building out this addition to the bridge. As we heard from your engineer, number one, the kind of material that would be used to construct this is not something that currently is built in the state or with our state industries. It typically has to be shipped in. And the second is that it is extremely expensive, as he pointed out, in the components that we're using on our existing bridges. That will give rise to some expectation that we would go forward and build out this facility. And I think you need to be prepared for that. At some point during this process, I'd advise that we engage in a cost-benefit analysis and a funding analysis that provides us with an expectation of how much this is going to cost, generally, at least, and whether or not structurally it's possible, the additional windage, et cetera, that it would add to the suspension structure like this is not something you just throw components on, and what the funding mechanism would be for a project like this. So I think we need to go into. I think it's a wonderful exercise. I think it'd be exciting, but by the same token, as an agency that would need to have to execute it, we need to begin to prepare. If we're going to raise expectations on doing the project, we need to begin to develop a plan to implement it if we're going to. And all of those factors should be accounted for as the design discussions take place.
And I agree with you totally, Director. Thanks for that input. You'll recall the former executive director had some preliminary discussions with members of our federal congressional delegation about that. And this board, actually, I believe you were a member, we did not move forward to spend any money on looking at some kind of at that point, I think it was a bike lane. That probably goes back 2 or 3 years ago. So I think it's a nice exercise, for whatever they need to do, but we obviously need to be cautious stewards of our limited resources. And our primary goal, obviously, is getting people over the bridge in a safe fashion and in the most economical way. So I personally would have concerns about moving forward with anything like that. But you're right about the expectations game. So they can do their exercise, and then the board can address whether or not we want to evaluate something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the the factors that add a realistic execution of this, which is finance, funding, engineering kinds of factors that play into it, then at least as we go through the process of publicly introducing these ideas, we can couple that with a strategy to actually execute it in a way that we can afford to, right?
Sure. Any other questions for the executive director? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor of adjourning at 9:01, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.